Alex, who's known better by his alias Yandere Dev, has come to garner an infamous reputation among the gaming community. As his career has progressed over the years working on Yandere Simulator, he has been involved in numerous things. From his outlashes against volunteers and fans, to an extremely troubled development cycle, Alex has managed to continually tarnish his name and drag it through the mud in the time span of 8 years, all while developing his game. So what exactly happened? So who is Yandere Dev? Born June 30th, 1988 in California, Alex had the ambition and drive to create a game of his own. It would mark the end of his time working at a video game company and pursuing the dreams of becoming an indie developer. The idea for his game would be started April 1st, 2014 on 4chan, asking people if they would be interested in a Yandere Simulator game. Following the positive reception and curiosity from people's responses in the thread, he would make a post the following day to announce that he had begun development of the game with a prototype to follow shortly after April 4th. The game is, as stated from his website, a stealth game about stalking a boy and secretly eliminating anyone who seemed interested in him while maintaining the image of an innocent schoolgirl. Continuing from the popularity of his thread on 4chan, his YouTube would begin to gain a massive following, reaching over 1 million subscribers September 17, 2016. It is no doubt that when he first released the game, it would take the internet by storm, having creators such as Markiplier's, PewDiePie, Cub Scouts, and many other content creators played the game. But despite all the success he had gained so far, Yandere Dev would soon be in for the ride of his life with everything that would follow shortly after. In the past, there have been YouTubers who have covered Yandere Dev's controversial past and the wrongful things he has done, ranging from outlashing at people who say or suggest anything he doesn't agree with, to posting cryptic and passive-aggressive videos on his second channel with the theme consisting of "it's all baseless rumors," to "if enough people say it, it becomes true. People will believe anything on the internet. If you keep working on something someday, it'll be complete." And then to the final video being, "you're all judging me from stuff I did in the past, which isn't right, as that's the past and now we're in the present," which I found interesting because it would appear as each new video was posted, the message would start to shift from, well, these are all rumors and these are baseless accusations, this isn't true, to, well, shit, alright, I guess you caught me. Yeah, it's true, but so what? It's in the past, who cares? It doesn't matter no more, right? No one's talking about that no more. How about we just move on from there? In that time, he has taken to various platforms to try and defend himself, ranging from his Twitter, his YouTube, and even making a dedicated page on his website called Debunk. His purpose was made to try and disprove all the allegations that have been made against him throughout the year. After the creation of the page, it wouldn't take long for people to start doing their own investigations and making their own debunks of his debunk, which I'll link some of them in the description below. Now let's talk about the development hell / money sinkhole that Yandere Simulator has become. For a game that's been in development for over 8 years, you would think it would be finished, right? Or maybe that is close to being finished. Unfortunately for this game, it's 2022 and it's still not finished. Which is funny considering he released a video years ago stating that all the pointless emails he's been receiving was slowing down game development, and he asked, do you want this game in 2019 or do you want it in 2022? So here we are now, and to the surprise of no one, the game is still not finished, and honestly, it's probably never going to be finished. From what started off strong with fans and volunteers supporting the development of the game, it's now turned into people realizing that this game is essentially in the same category as Star Citizen, which is that it'll never be finished. When Yandere Dev started his Patreon November 11, 2014, he started strong with having over 500 patrons already by May. At the time, he was making over $3,000 a month, and that number would steadily rise throughout the years until it finally hit its peak at 1,300 patrons and an earning of over $5,000 a month December 2017. Following that, his Patreon and monthly income would begin to drop heavily, now reaching a current total of 475 patrons and an income of $1,672 per month. So every year he has made a transparency post which outlines how much money he's made every month and what the funds end up going towards. So first, let's take a look at how much he's made each year. So for the year 2016, in total, just from Patreon alone, he's made over $70,000. In 2017, he's made over $58,000. 2018, over $48,000. 2019, over $32,000. In 2020, over $31,000. And then last but not least, in 2021, over $23,000. So when you add up all the numbers together, it results to $265,247 from just Patreon alone. Now, I understand that he has spent money on the development to hire designers, animators, and other development related things, which has been noted in each year's transparency report, but over the years he has spent less and less on volunteers and has just kept all the extra money in what he calls a surplus fund, which currently sits at $19,955 as of his 2021 transparency post. So on a post on the Osana subreddit, which is a sub that was originally created to avoid censorship from the original Yandere Yandere Simulator subreddit highlighted an email that was an exchange between Yandere Dev and a user. In that email, Yandere Dev stated that not all the income he was receiving from his Patreon was intended to be used for the development of Yandere Simulator. Instead, he had other plans to use it so he could potentially go back to college, buy a home, or so he could eventually afford to get married and have a family. His justification being, you go to work, you get paid, you use some of that money to survive and save the rest. That's normal. Objection! So what's the purpose of the Patreon if it's not meant to fund and support the game, but other than to fund your own salary so that you can keep living amongst your life and having fun? He stated for everything that goes past his monthly salary of $3,500 that he has apparently capped himself at, all that goes to a surplus fund, which is meant to fund the development of the game even further. Which leads me to say, isn't that funding the game, which you said the Patreon isn't really meant to support, but to support you? You state if you reach over $5,000 a month, there's no doubt that you'll always have enough money to compensate people towards the development of the game. But fast forward to the future, aka now, and you can see that in previous transparency reports, he hasn't really paid almost anyone for anything over the past couple years for helping with the development of the game. So he just has a large sum of money sitting in the surplus that hasn't been used yet, which leads me to the next question, which is what purpose does a crowdfunding serve if you're not already using the money you have now to work on the game that you're currently developing? What do you think a crowdfund will fix? What will it resolve if you have X amount of money sitting away in a surplus, which is $19,000, and you're not hiring that many people every year? You have money sitting here that you're already not even spending to begin with, and you're looking at a crowdfund for what purpose? Why don't you use what you already have and finish the game? In the past, there has never been an official statement on when this crowdfunding campaign was ever to come, how much it would be, what will it help do, other than that it's supposed to fund the game. This has been a topic that he has discussed for over 2 years now at this point, and it hasn't come out yet because he always fears that there's going to be so much negativity and so much backlash that his crowdfunding will never be supported. And rightfully so, because it won't. It doesn't make sense. In that email, you asked that user, do you think I'm the bad guy if I don't put every cent in the Yandere Simulator? And my answer is no, you're not a bad guy. You are a person who is blindly robbing misguided, uninformed people out of their money for a game that is never going to be finished. But you don't have to believe me. Your Patreon numbers speak for itself. That's why it has dramatically decreased so much over the years, because people are waking up and realizing that this is never going to be finished. On your Patreon, you say, for as long as I'm receiving donations, I'll continue to expand Yandere Simulator. I got a better idea. How about you finish it first and then expand later? I think that's a great idea considering how long you've been working on this game. You had an FAQ that asked, what happens if the Patreon drops below 1,000? Well, your answer was that you'll quit working on the game full-time and that it will become a hobby that you occasionally work on. That you'll work on other game ideas that should take less than a year and you would shift all your focus to other games. Well, at the current trajectory that we're going, you're on track to reach that goal. You will soon be there, if not by the end of this year, sometime next year. All this continued talk about, I need money for this, I don't have enough money for that, I need to crowdfund this, I apparently don't have enough money to fund the other 9 rivals. But then you state that the money you make from YouTube and Twitch is just bonus money and shouldn't be considered anything else, which is absurd to me. That speaks volumes to me on the motivation and drive to actually getting this game completed. I would think that money made on the Yandere Simulator YouTube channel, the channel about the game, which makes money related to the game, would be, I don't know, reused back into development of the game. Why is that bonus money? Why doesn't that go back into funding the game? You wouldn't need to worry about crowdfunding if you use your money from your other sources that you currently make revenue from. You got your Patreon, you got your merchandise, you have your YouTube channel. Must I go on? You have money coming in. You have made over $200,000. Where is this issue of money coming from? You've stated that the more money you make on Patreon means the less money you have to ask for in a crowdfunding, and then the higher chance that it's going to succeed. Well, why don't you pull the money that you make from your YouTube channel, put that in there, see how much you make from there, and maybe you won't have to ask even for more money. Maybe you even have a higher chance of succeeding. You created this game. You created a Patreon. You accepted money for working on this game. Finish it. This game has been in development for over 8 years with no sign of it ever coming to an end. You have made a 1980s mode, which is your way to prove that you have been working on something and that you can have a complete game mode. But to a lot of people, this mode shouldn't even exist. Why did you waste time working on a spin-off, a prologue, when you haven't even finished the main game? You are expanding on the game when you need to finish the game. What should have happened was you finished the main game and then you released the 1980s mode later. And then shortly after, you announced that the game development can't continue on yet because you don't have enough funding to fund the other 9 rivals. What baffling budget do you have set for each rival? $100,000 per rival? $1 million per rival? What do you need? Top of the line voice acting? You've had so many volunteers in the past try to help you out, but you have burned so many bridges due to your hateful past and the way you outlasted people because they don't meet your expectations for your game. Look, I get having a game is your baby, it's your project. You want it to be the best thing in the world, but you have to read the room. Look at how much time this game has taken. And so I ask you a question. What would happen if you don't reach that funding? What happens if you don't get that money? Don't worry, I can answer that for you. Let's go to your About page and take a look at when is the game's release date tab. Starting from top to bottom, you originally stated that if the crowdfunding campaign, which never happened, couldn't meet its bare goal, then Yandere Simulator would have to be completed without professional assistance. That the final game would be identical to the current sandbox and would most likely be released sometime in early 2021, which never happened. Another thing you noted was if the crowdfunding campaign can meet its first stretch goal, I will be able to hire a professional software engineer to replace me as the game's lead programmer. As a result, the speed of the game's development would increase drastically since the rate of progress won't be hindered by my personal availability. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought the purpose of your Patreon's monthly goals was to secure your availability with working on the game. Let's also take a look at this. You stated if the crowdfunding campaign can meet additional stretch goals, I will be able to pay professionals to work in the game for a longer amount of time, which would allow the players to have dream features such as female senpai, 1980 mode, and a mode where the additional layout of the school can be customized, etc. Well, that's interesting. It would appear 1980 mode was originally a feature that was planned for a crowdfunding that never happened, but somehow you still managed to develop it even though you never created your crowdfund. Last but not least, you said if the crowdfunding campaign fails, there are alternate ways to secure funding for the game. It's possible that I could raise money for investors in exchange for promising them a portion of the game's profits, or partner with a company, most likely in exchange for ownership of Yandere Simulator's brand. So if the crowdfunding campaign fails, it doesn't immediately spell doom for the project. Well, it appears that never happened. You said you predict 0 chance of your campaign succeeding due to dishonest, greedy clickbait drama YouTubers, but the honest truth is they didn't ruin your reputation. You did it yourself. Regardless of your troubled past that you tried countless times to debunk and failed each time, the one thing that is true, which can also be proven, is that the current length of the development of your game doesn't make any sense considering how much time it's been in development and the money you have made working on it. Regardless if YouTubers would have made those videos or not, it wouldn't have made an impact because results speak for itself and your game has little to show for the 8 years you've been working on it. It's most likely the same reason you haven't considered your alternate ways to fund your game, because you know at this point no investor, partner, or company would want to be attached to your project. If you never get enough money to fund these rivals, these other 9 rivals that you say doesn't have the funding for it, so you can't finish it, what do? You just keep expanding on the game as it is, but it never gets finished? Because that's what it's sounding like. At this point in time, you have a high expectation set for yourself, something that is super unimaginable. And if for the people who are waiting for your game, I guarantee their expectation is nowhere near to the roof because this game has taken so long. There's no way this is ever going to meet whatever unimaginable expectation you have set in your mind and for what you think the fans are waiting for. When you have games such as Stardew Valley, Bright, and Undertale all solely developed by themselves and managed to release in a decent time frame, there is no justifiable excuse you can give on why your game has not been completed and released. It's so irritating to me, and that's why I even made this video. I originally looked up your game to see where you were all these years later, because I was playing this game right when I graduated high school. I remember when it first came out and I was actually playing it, and then fast forward now, I could have already graduated college. I'm going to be reaching my 30s soon. And so I looked up to see what's going on with the game, and then I see all this troubled development. I see all these outlashes. It's not even near finished. And then FPS Diesel try to give you a platform, a way to speak your mind and open up so that people can understand your point of view and your side of the story and what's going on. But instead, you shut him down, and then you just resort to hiding in your Discord where you like to mock your own users, where people are trying to genuinely be nice. I've gone on for this way too long. This shit got me really heated as I kept looking into this more and more. And there's so much I still haven't even covered. I was just looking at the money aspect of this. I just want to see where the fuck is all this money going that you still don't have enough. That's what I was curious in. Look, I wish the best for you. Maybe your game will be finished before GTA 6 comes out. Who knows? What you need to do is reduce the scope of your game. Set a budget. Figure out what you need in the game, how much it's going to take to get done. Make a post. Tell your users, hey, I need this much money so I can get this done. This is the timeline that I want it done by. And boom. At least you got something of a plan, because right now you are just free winging this shit. You are just having money come in month by month with no real timeline other than I don't have enough money to fund this. The game will be finished when it's finished. You're going the path of Duke Nukem, bro. You're going the path of Star Citizens, bro. Your game's never going to be finished. It's ridiculous. The game shouldn't have taken this long, especially for how much is done and the way it looks. Yes, the game has a 1980s mode, but that's not even the main game, the thing that people are funding your game to begin with. All people have wanted to do is help you out, but instead you clap back, you lash out, and you burn so many bridges of people people that have tried to help you out in the past. You've had people try and make art for you, people that have tried to program for you, but apparently they're not up to your echelon level of skills. But your skills are not even up to the levels that you claim. I don't get this, man. You've had help, you burn bridges, and because of it, you're now suffering for it, and you're never gonna have a finished game. And eventually someone else is gonna make a video on the same topic. The fuel will just keep on spreading. It will never end until you finish this game one day, and then you openly speak about the whole entire development on what exactly went wrong with this game. That's all I got for you. Have a great day, and yeah,